Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Certified Forgotten. We are still your podcast that talks about horror films with 10 or fewer reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of times we record these episodes, we have an excellent guest in place. And Donato, no preamble, no banter, none of that pre shit. Let's get right into it. We got a good guest and a good movie we want to talk about today.
Yeah, we're moving with speed today, so we're going to bring in our guest immediately, and that is Mr. Ryan Prows, the man behind Night Patrol. Night Patrol is coming out. We got you here. Let's talk.
Yeah, so excited to be on the podcast. Long time lurker, first time on the podcast.
We love that. We are big fans of lurkers. I think lurkers describes like 90% of the people who know
Lurk
Certified
gang,
Forgotten.
right here.
Correct. Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about your film for a bit, and then we're also going to talk about the movie you picked for us. Spoiler alert, you picked Los Bastardos. It's going to be a good conversation about that film too. But before we talk about Night Patrol, I know that Donato has been hyping up your earlier work and especially your short on VHS 94 for a long, long time. So since it's the connective tissue between your short and your feature, talk a little bit about your VHS 94 segment. How did that come about, and how did that springboard into your feature?
Yeah, we let's see. It was pandemic. It was 2020, so it was like looking for something to do, and was really excited about it. I got brought on by Josh Goldblum, who is a producer on Night Patrol as well. It was cool. They were like, it was kind of an unwritten, unspoken thing that, like, with VHS, they like to do their take on different, famous monsters, and it wasn't super like pitched to me like that. But like once I pitched my concept of this like white supremacist militia has captured a creature that they keep executing, and then they weaponize his blood to use as it's a vampire, and they weaponize his blood to use as an explosive device to take down a government building. It it was like for me, like what I love about vampire stuff, and why I wanted to do Night Patrol, another vampire thing, and a different vampire thing was, you can play with the form, and you can play with like the lore of vampires, and really have fun with it, and kind of do your own take on it. And the vampire on this is a lot different than the vampire from VHS 94.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I can see the connective tissue between Low Life as well, because like, you are approaching this from a very gritty, exploitation-y vocal stance, let's say.
Yeah.
And that's the best way. Like, we love when our films take hard stances on things and make their points so known. So like, it's really nice to see them blend together, because again, Low Life is fantastic. Like, it's the closest we get to that kind of real grim and grimy Tarantino-y kind of all over the place exploitation that I haven't seen in a little while. So
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
it's nice to see that come together.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's wild to me that, like, I was talking to because I wrote Low Life with a lot of the same guys that we wrote Night Patrol together, and we were just recently talking about, like, obviously the fact that like when we were making Low Life, the bad guys in that are ice, and down to the point of, like, we had vests with ice on them and everything. And we were like, and we shot in 2016, and we were like, I don't even know if anyone's gonna know what ice is, or is anyone gonna know? And then yeah, I don't know, like when we did VHS 94, I was actually talking to the pyro guy, and kind of planning the pyrotechnic stuff that on January 6th. So I'm like watching these nutbags attack the Capitol. And now we find ourselves where we're at, and Night Patrol, does not shy from talking about police violence and corruption and racial, just straight racism, systemic racism, and class disparity, all that sort of stuff. So I'm looking forward to the day that I'm like, man, we should make a movie about like puppy dogs and rainbows and kittens and stuff. And then it's like, oh, this is great. I've foreseen the rise of puppy dogs and rainbows and kittens, and not complete fascism.
I hope for that for you as well, even though I kind of feel like the stuff you're working on right now might be a little bit more fun from an audience perspective, just
Yeah.
from a
Yeah, we'll find something that's not that, but is that? I don't know.
let me ask about the vampire piece because I'm always, I love watching horror movie monsters go in waves. Zombies were fast, and then they were slow, and then they were fast. You've seen vampires be feral and then fancy, and then go kind of back to feral. Were there particular tropes for Night Patrol that you were like, these are the type of vampire things that I like that I want to play with?
Early on in the shoot, Justin Long, God bless him, came on, did the movie, is turns in an incredible different performance than he's done before. But he was like he is, and we've joked about it. He's like your vampire traditionalist, where he was like, "Where are the fangs? Am I gonna have the? When do I put the contact lenses in? And I don't know, a cape or whatever." Um, but yeah, from jump, I was always using the analogy of like these guys are they're a dull knife and they are just tearing the shit out of you, and they're not, there's no, obviously there's no sexiness, but there's also no like finesse or being precious about it or whatever. They're going for the jugular in the most horrendous way possible. And then kind of taking that idea and mixing it with like this paramilitary sort of vibe that these guys are all on. And uh yeah, love.
Well, I was gonna say, like, you do the I want to say obvious, but again, that is complimentary because I think horror's greatest kind of weapon is vampires can be so many things. Like, there's a movie, Blood-Sucking Bastards, and vampires are salespeople. Like, you do the thing that makes so much sense. So you go, oh, bloodsuckers, vampires. What is preying on people at night? Night Patrol. Like, I adore when filmmakers are able to be like, no, I'm gonna hit you over the head with what I'm saying because you need to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's like, not to cut you off, but I'm excited about it. It's like, to me, it's like this is genre filmmaking. Take the swings, draw a line in the sand and say shit. It's like I feel like at least the tenor of the times that we're in, it's like subtlety is a dead dog here.
And you also do something I really like, which is sort of remove the Eastern European focus for vampires too. You put them more into a global context. I'm watching Interview with a Vampire right now. It's a
Yeah,
great series,
yeah.
a lot of fun. Certainly the antithesis of a lot that's come before, but they're in Paris, they're in Hungary, they're in like Eastern Europe. So, can you talk a little bit about extending the roots of the vampire into Africa and beyond?
Yeah, that was kind of born out of like just doing research on like we specifically have like, okay, our heroes are like reaching into their culture and finding, like, as we were doing our research for that, we were like finding really cool African folklore mythology. That's where we actually got the metal fangs from. There's like a vampiric character that, or a vampiric creature in African folklore that's like has iron fangs.
Mm.
So it was like, to me, it was a cool opportunity to, yeah, like do something fresh with it, bring a different sort of like a way into it, but also our vampires are still European colonialists that are just, we're using the metaphor in that way to are coming in and laying waste to our heroes.
And you were talking a little bit about ICE earlier.
Hmm.
LAPD is a major presence in this film.
Yeah.
I'm realizing I've never really talked to anybody about the process of actually getting an NYPD or an LAPD to appear for you to be able to use their likeness in the movie. Is that a difficult process when you're like, hey, we're going to talk about a secret vampire group of y'all that runs the world? Is that
Yes.
changed since 2020? Is there when and we have an increased amount of scrutiny on these things?
Yeah, that does not make things easy for sure. I mean, we had some, I've done enough like police stuff and done enough like ride-alongs and that sort of thing, so it felt like that was that side of it was covered. We did have a tech advisor on to help Jermaine and Justin kind of walk through police procedure and try and make that feel as grounded. And he helped us out with like the uniforms, the modernization of the uniforms and stuff. But really, to me, the bigger side of that was like making sure like we did our due diligence as far as like taking it around to the community. Like, we shot LA for LA. we went to these communities and like, presented the movie to them, the script, talked through it. A really great nonprofit, Ceasefire, that does like peace work in the community, like introduced us to around to everybody, helped us with locations and all that sort of stuff. And then when we brought YG in as well, he's an EP on it, and obviously knows the gang world a good bit. So he legitimized stuff. He came up with we initially were just using real set names and real locations, and he came up with the set names for it. But like as far as like, yeah, I mean the LAPD was not in portraying them. We just had to like Greek their LAPD like insignia or their seal on the car or whatever. And I feel like because this was such a scrappy, indie, I mean, they knew about us, but then they were also like, whatever, it's fine,
Yeah. You've also in interviews talked about your cat. You compared it of all things to It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, which I think is such a fun comparison in terms of like the talent and the in-industry and other industry stuff.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about getting this cast for this film?
We have been trying to make the film since Low Life. This was the movie that we all, the writers and I wrote while we were on the festival circuit for Low Life and started taking it around afterwards. And then Goyer and Keith Levine, Phantom 4, they came on to produce it, and they've been on it since then as well. And it was just this like up and down process of like we had, it was a big studio movie, and we started getting big names in it and everything, and then that protracted and then fell apart over and over again. And it was cool that they stuck with it, and I think honestly the movie was better for it. I mean, definitely better for it just with our cast. Like once we started locking the cast in, we went lower budget with it, so we kind of didn't get messed with at all. We were able to just go do the movie we wanted to do, and it was like actually really supported by the studio, just sort of saluting us and letting us go off and do it.
Yeah.
And then it was like the process of like I wrote a million letters to like my favorite folks, and I like tried to kind of think of like, okay, how is this role different than something they may have played before? Obviously it's like you hit up CM Punk, he's like the best talker in the biz, so it's like, okay, once we landed him, it's like let's start writing some speeches for him to give. Justin Long was connected through he did a VHS segment while we were prepping the movie. We had another actor fall out of that role, and Justin read it and liked the script, but had some hesitation of just like, wow, this is really different than what I've done, but was excited about that too. And then I feel like that gassed him up, and he was able to he shaved his head, he started kind of getting like bigger, working out. Jermaine I'd worked with, I'd done like sold a movie and a series that didn't go, but we had been working on that for a while together. So I just knew, again, it's such a different look for him, but he's still so cool in it. So I think it was that process. It was just like we wrote the script for Nikki Michaud, her role that I'd worked with on Low Life, but it was like we got the movie done at the level where we were able to cast her in the role too. So I feel like at the end of the day, it worked out so well for us.
Yeah, and there are some. This is a very serious movie. I'm obviously we're talking about ICE and all these other things, LAPD, but there's also some comedy in here that I was not expecting.
For sure.
So, like, can you just speak to? I think sometimes horror filmmakers are scared to inject a little humor into their films because horror comedies have a certain kind of connotation, and yet the Freddie Gibbs stuff, the Flying Lotus stuff, like all those little like gang conversations are. You had people laughing out loud in the theater. So what was your approach to that? And just kind of like trying to bring a little levity to this like really dark topic?
Yeah, I think that's like, I think that's the only way, or at least the only way I can do it is to me, that's life, is like you're laughing the hardest you've ever laughed at a funeral. It's like, it is those moments of like, with Low Life, and then I would say even further with this, taking this idea further of like taking something to like the lowest worst place you can go, and can you scrape and have your characters kind of pull themselves up out of that. And a lot of that is like the love of these characters, the humor of it, and it was really cool. Like when we did the table read, again, all these folks are from like such different like walks of life, but then they all knew the mission, I feel like, of like what the movie was and what we were trying to do with it, and then they all really started like gelling. And I mean, from table read on, I knew it was going to work because they were just killing it. It was hysterical.
And I think, you mentioned already, Justin Long does a really unique turn for his career path. This is Justin Long going fangs out in a way that I won't get deeper into. So, do you think, like, watching him go here and seeing him behind the camera, like, was he really excited to do this kind of role? And like, do you think this might spark a new turn in the kind of roles he takes?
I hope so. I mean, it feels like you know yeah, it feels like it engaged a new muscle for him, or he found a new gear. And like he is so intense and scary in the movie. And he was always kind of like bringing, yeah, like when he would sort of fall back on like, oh, I'm gonna make a joke and kind of have that be like a thing I know is gonna work or whatever. We'd be like, no, man, come on, push it, we're going past that. And he fell into that pretty quickly. And I would I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be excited. He's just such a good actor. It's like, man, like, give this let him hit it out of the park for you.
Yeah, and one of the questions I kinda always like to ask filmmakers, I mean, you said you've been working on this script for so long, and, like, I talked to Josh Goldblum too, like, after Fantastic Fest, just about everything you guys went through making this film. Like, was there anything on the page that didn't make it to screen that, like, you just wish coulda got there, but, didn't, whether it was means or whether it was not, like, just had to stay on the page?
Yeah, I think I mean it was a getting a movie made is a miracle. Getting this movie made is like a double miracle. Like it was just, hard from jump. Uh like I said, at one point, this is a studio movie about fighting racist vampire cops. So it's been an uphill battle for a long time. But like I was always like, oh man, we had it initially. We again, and also just indie filmmaking, the script's going to change to your needs. But we had like a bigger scope for some of the like action stuff, or a bigger finale or whatever. But in the end, it's like, um, you know, any kind of it was the same lesson that we learned on Low Life. It's like anything that you had to kind of cut away for budget. It's like make that plus, make that minus turn that minus into a plus. And it honed it and sharpened it and made it better anyways in the end. So I like there was stuff where we were like, oh man, we had these plans to do this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, it turned out way better than I think the initial plan was. And that's just kind of how that goes. I feel like of as you're working on a script and you start getting, Freddie Gibbs. When we cast Freddie, Flylo, and YG as like our cryptozoologist bloods, like monster hunters, like their personalities that they brought to it changed those characters for the better. And it's always that kind of thing. It's like leaning into everyone's strengths and kind of tailoring it for them. So no, I mean it turned out way better than it had any right to, I would say.
Yeah, and I think, RJ shines in that 3rd act too, something like that, like you just said, maybe taking the scope out of action, letting the characters go, like, you just let
Yeah.
these actors just really shine in those moments.
Yeah, and not be afraid of like, and that goes for the comedy and horror. Like you said, it's definitely like, obviously people are like, oh, horror comedy is a thing. But not being afraid to just like, yeah, take the swing and go for it. And I guess like earnestly present it, and let the moment, like whether it's awkward or hard or funny or whatever, like try to find the life in that is like what excites me about doing the film in the first place.
Yeah, and we could spend the whole episode talking about Night Patrol. But here on Certified Forgotten, we always ask our guests to bring a movie to talk about that has inspired them and that falls under our very, very narrow criteria. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Los Bastardos. Okay, welcome back. So for this week, Ryan has chosen for us Los Bastardos, and if you haven't seen it, it is available to stream on Amazon Prime, so you can check it out there. But here's a quick plot synopsis for those that maybe haven't had a chance to see it. For Jesus, life in the United States is far from the American dream. He lives his life as an undocumented immigrant, working low paying construction jobs as a way to send money back home. But when someone pays Jesus to do something darker, to break into his home and murder his estranged wife, it creates an opportunity Jesus cannot afford to pass up. Written and directed by Amada Escalante, Los Bastardos is a slow burn and feel bad home invasion film. Ryan, you picked this one for us. I'm curious, even before talking about watching them, like what you thought of the film,
Mhm.
where did you see this for the first time? Was this a festival watch for you?
No, I actually saw it on video. I want to say it was like around the time that his other film, like Hell or Helly, came
Kelly,
out.
yeah.
Um, and I just moved to LA to go to film school, and so I think I just went and checked out. Like I obviously didn't have access to see Helly, so then I went to check out Los Bastardos. So it was already on video by the time I watched it.
And so, what made this one stick out? What's had it stick with you all these years?
Yeah, I think about this a lot. Like it's so and again, just being like, an scrappy indie filmmaker, like trying to just get it done. I think that they mine so much emotion and relevance and everything with like, sorry, doing a lot with a little. And I love like you said, the slow burn thing, like the bravery, which I don't even have, is like the bravery to just like let I mean, the movie opens with like a 5 minute long shot or 6 minute long shot of just these guys walking, and it says a lot with making that strong of a choice, and then you sort of watch these guys live their life, and then like the horror just slowly unfolds, and it's just so masterfully done. It blew me away the first time I saw it, and I was like, it was one of those that I was like recommending to everyone. I was like, you got to check this movie out. And it's just it is like an uncelebrated, sort of seemingly forgotten movie. So
I know I referred to it in that synopsis as a home invasion film. It's worth noting this came out a year after the Funny Games remake and the same year as The Strangers. So right in that
mhm.
era where that mode of movie was kind of becoming popular again. Do you think this belong A, do you see this as a home invasion film? And B, do you think it belongs in those kind of conversations with some of those other movies?
Yeah, I think. I think I hadn't heard it, or I hadn't looked up the synopsis. I haven't heard it put as a home invasion film, and I was actually thinking about that when you said that. But I mean, I guess, um, in some respects, it's like the most home invasion-y movie ever, and the grander scheme of it being like these undocumented workers coming here, and it being specifically about that, and like building out from that, and like what like are they home invaders or not? I don't know. Like that's a
Yeah.
great, that's a great way to frame it and to start a question of it. So I do think it is like definitely Funny Games, Haneke sort of vibes of like how like dryly horrific it is, and it just sort of like lets it sit there, and you sit in it, and not it's inescapable. So I'm always just like a big fan of that type of horror, and also like, yeah, probably too scaredy cat to like fully go there and
Yeah.
let the art flag fly on that.
Yeah, I mean, like thinking in the context of The Strangers, I almost see Los Bastardos as the opposite. Like it's the inversion of, well, why is this happening? Because you were home. That's The Strangers.
Yeah,
Los Bastardos is like, why is this happening? Because a country that fails illegal immigrants and certain people have to do what they have to do. So, like that sentence can go on for so
yeah,
Yeah.
long about why it's happening. And I actually think the most horrific parts of this movie is the silence. This is a very quiet movie because it's as we've said, it's the two men who break in to a house, and they are holding a woman hostage, and basically they're there to kill her. And it's Jesus and Fausto as you, you don't really know if
Which
they
are
want to.
incredible names. I
Right,
mean,
right,
character names. Like,
exactly. Perfectly named, but, like, you don't really know at any time if they both want to do what they're about to do, and this is not it is a mean movie 100%, but you also have, like, the dilemma within each character, and Fausto's more pronounced. We know Fausto doesn't really want to do what's happening, and yet, what happens at the end, the inversion like, it's just the desperation of the movie. It's sitting with it and going, "D d is it gonna go there? Is it gonna go as far?" And, like, it may be a little too slow for some people in that
sure.
regard, but still, I do agree with you, like, the fact that this is a confident filmmaker who sits there and will have a shot go on for 5 minutes and you just have to dwell in it, like, that's the shit that, like, ate away at me.
Yeah, for sure. That kind of thing. I found myself. I remember the first time I watched it, even going through the shot, like the again the beginning shot goes on for so long. For example, where you're like, okay, this is some art bullshit, and then you're like, oh, but I'm still engaged. And then you're like starting to think about it, and then you go through all the cycles of I don't know, like the emotions of the moment in that one take, and that's just like to me that's genius filmmaking of just like fully in control of the audience and their response.
I will say the funny thing, I watched this with my roommate, and halfway through the movie, like, I paused it to go to the bathroom or something, and she was like, "Every one of these shots goes on for either 30 seconds or 5 minutes too long."
Yeah. Well, or she was like, "Did you need to pause or like you can?"
Right, exactly, like, yeah, dude, you coulda just walked away, I think you would've been fine.
Yeah.
No, but I do again, like, I think that's the artful choice, though, and I think for all the right reasons in the way that it does just you have to sit with it, you have to sit there and just be in these moments. I think, again, like, that's what adds to the horror of this film, and that's what adds to it, but
And
also, like
R.I.P. Bellatar, man. Slow
oof,
cinema stand up, Hive stand up.
Yeah.
100%, but I was gonna say too, I mean, it was really fun to watch this movie and knowing it was your pick because like this is kind of ingrained in every one of your releases. Like this feels so much like the DNA of where your career has kind of gone. I see Los Bastardos in every release you have.
Oh, cool. I mean, again, it definitely like haunted me, and I think about it constantly. And yeah, I like would I love the concept of this podcast and that you can champion these because it definitely not even deserves to be seen. It just like do yourself a favor. It's such a I do yeah. Again, it's slow, but I think that there's so much going on, and it's so interesting that that people will get a lot out of it.
And I know, and I'm not familiar with his work. I know from reading Escalante is kind of a controversial figure with some of his films. If you work in the horror genre, you do slow cinema, that might happen to you. It just is kind of a part of the business.
Yeah.
But I am curious, genre fans, genre filmmakers know better than anybody that there's a really fine line between representation and exploitation.
hmm
And I'm curious how you view this. What keeps this on the right side of that line for you?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like, and it's me reading into it, but I feel like
Yeah.
the filmmaker's intention is in the right place, and that like it's an uncomfortable topic, but I think it's definitely handled, and it's yeah, to me, it's not there just for shock value. That there's a lot of thought behind it. So that's usually my criteria for that kind of thing. It doesn't feel like gleeful and like 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 the moments, the hard moments that we're in. It doesn't feel like what I feel like, and not even in a bad way, but what exploitation is you're titillating and it's just sort of gleeful intensity, and I don't see that there in this film.
No, I was talking, or sorry, I was thinking about this before because like the very small subset of immigration exploitation, I feel like is so hard to get right because the topics are horrific enough. We don't really need to go into exploitation to have real terror happening. Again, ICE, everything that's happening in the government right now, we
hmm
see what the terror looks like. But if you go too overboard, it almost seems like you're doing a disservice to those themes. So like I was thinking about how like Los Bastardos fits in with other movies. Like I really like Gigi Saul Guerrero's Culture Shock. I
Yeah.
think it's one of the few films that gets the over exploitation of the American dream and how immigrants get lost in that and how
hmm
Americans completely take advantage of them. And yeah, and the other films, like I forget the name of it, but they do an inversion where white homeowners invite immigrants over and then like capture them and then throw them in the basement. And like it's a whole movie that's just dour on dour on dour in the wrong way. So like it was really interesting to see Los Bastardos kind of toe that line and try to, get to the end and be like, we're making our message. We're gonna hit you in the face with it and it's gonna suck. But like it's not meant to be like one of those fun exploitation films for that reason.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think, like my lofty goal I always go for is like if I could make like John Cassavetes making a Paul Verhoeven movie or whatever, like where you can get like kitchen sink realism and like the most whacked out, black comedy satirical thing possible, then like you're cooking with gas. And I feel like that's not necessarily like this is definitely not Paul Verhoeven, but like taking like a art film, like full capital A can winner sort of steez, and then like putting that on, yeah, like the touches of exploitation, I think is a really cool mix.
One of the things that happens when we invite a filmmaker on to talk about their project and the film they pick is we inevitably find these like undercurrents or connective tissue that sort of stands out to us on watch. And between Night Patrol and Los Bastardos, I saw a lot of interesting characters who combined a lot of anger, pride, and shame, kind of about where they came from, and were
Hmm.
grappling with that in ways on screen that weren't always clean and didn't always end up well for them. So
And
I'm
even just like
curious.
oh sorry,
Yeah.
even just like that's a great point. If even like it's got me thinking of like what you said with Gigi's film of like trying to like the American dream and what that means, that shame of like not being able to hit the hit all the four quadrants of that. Like I feel like that's spot on of like yeah, I mean that's definitely somewhere deep in there when we were making Night Patrol for sure.
I love that. And that brings us to our last question that we always ask our guests, which is, for the film that you've picked, Los Bastardos, obviously it's got a certain regard, if you will, play on words.
Certain.
Thank you, thank you. It is a film of some note. It's not something, it played in front of a big festival crowd at Cannes, but it has 2 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. People don't talk about it. It is a little underseen. So, what do you think, or looking into your crystal ball, what do you see for the future of Los Bastardos? How do you see this as a film in modern America that'll gain poignancy and find viewers over time?
I mean, poignancy, hell yes. I have no clue why this hasn't. I mean, like you said, the filmmaker, I guess, is maybe some kind of controversy there. I don't. I just remember it being like one of his newer films was sort of like not well received, right? Or there was some controversy within that. But yeah, I feel like this movie, is gonna get a life at some point on it's on one of these boutique labels and put out a hysterically crystal clear 4K of this like real grimy ass movie. It's bound to happen, and then you guys will write the booklet for it.
Hey, sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean that it's hard to see this one not getting another life because again of the relevance and art right now and life and all of that colliding in a way that we wish it never would.
Yeah.
But again, like I think the feel bad nature makes it one of those harder ones for people to stomach, and yet at the same time like that is what makes it even more important because it's the art that is daring, it is the art that actually pushes far enough that usually ends up making the impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
And that, my friends and dear listeners, is our episode of Certified Forgotten this week. So, this is the point on the show where we usually ask our guests if they have anything to promote. Ryan, do you have anything you want to promote or encourage people to look up and where they might be able to find it?
Yes, I do. Night Patrol in theaters nationwide, January 16th, and we made a bunch of friends made it. We made a bunch of new friends on it, and I'm just excited for everybody to get a chance. This is my first big swing at a theatrical release, so I'm just over the moon that we finally got this beast out there.
And in terms of, I know for finding the film at the movie theater near you, behind the scenes stuff, is there social media folks can check out? Are you keeping an Instagram live? You got a website, anything like that?
Yeah, Night Patrol. I believe it's Night Patrol the film.com, and then all the socials. There's Night Patrol. My socials are just my name, Ryan Prows. So
Awesome. Donato, real quick, how do folks stay connected with you online?
As always, that's going to be Donato Bomb, DonatoBomb, and that's Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and Instagram most prominently. And yeah, I got reviews coming out of Sundance pretty soon, so wait for that. Or if you want to read my positive review on Night Patrol, you can go to Daily Dead.
As for me, you can follow me basically just Blue Sky. It's Monocle at the Blue Sky String. But most importantly, if you liked what you heard today, if you like our awesome guests, go to certifiedforgotten.com, sign up for our newsletter at certifiedforgotten.com/newsletter. I know how the internet works. And you will get more of these indie films, more of the kind of stuff that people get passionate, get stuck in their craw, want to talk about forever. We'll bring it right to you, I promise. Ryan, I know scheduling has been a nightmare this week.
Sorry.
Thanks for squeezing us in.
No, thank you for bearing
you were
with me.
amazing. Thank you.
It's been like World War III behind me going on here with doors opening and everything. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's it. That is the people know. People, you're moving between spaces. You're talking about the film. It doesn't get more real than that. You're muted, Donato. If you're trying to do something, go.
Vampire pipe bomb.